Dear readers, visionaries, seekers of brilliance, and architects of the future, lend me your imagination. For within these pages lies not just a book, but a gateway, a revelation, a manifesto for unlocking the infinite power of your mind. Thinkertoys is not mere ink on paper. It is an invitation to step beyond the ordinary, to dissolve the barriers of conventional thought, and to embrace the astonishing, limitless potential of your own creativity. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, have you ever stared at a problem so vast, so insurmountable, that your mind recoiled, convinced of its own limitations? Have you ever dreamed of inventing, innovating, or shaping the world in ways never before imagined, but found yourself shackled by the mundane, the predictable, the uninspired? If so, prepare to be unshackled, to be liberated, to be transformed. Michalko, a master of ideation, a sculptor of thought, has crafted this handbook as a set of keys that unlock the deepest vaults of ingenuity within you. In Thinkertoys, you will find not abstract theories, but concrete, actionable techniques, powerful methods designed to ignite your thinking, disrupt the ordinary, and revolutionize the way you generate ideas. These are the tools used by history's greatest minds, the visionaries, the trailblazers, the ones who dared to see the world not as it is, but as it could be. Imagine for a moment what it would mean to possess the ability to summon creativity at will, to mold the intangible into the tangible, to look at problems and see not obstacles, but opportunities. That power, that mastery, is now within your reach. Let this book be your guide, your mentor, your catalyst for transformation. Open your mind, embrace the unexpected, and prepare to embark on an extraordinary journey. The doors to infinite creativity stand before you. Will you step through? Part 1 Summary of Thinkertoys, a handbook of creative thinking techniques by Michalko. Introduction: The power of creative thinking. Dear readers, imagine for a moment that you are standing at the threshold of unlimited creativity. Imagine that within your mind lies a vast, untapped reservoir of ideas, brilliant, groundbreaking ideas, that have the potential to change not just your life, but the world itself. Yet, too often, we find ourselves shackled by conventional thinking, by routines, by the belief that creativity is a gift bestowed upon a chosen few. But what if I told you that creativity is not a gift? It is a skill, a muscle that can be strengthened, refined, and harnessed at will. This is the very foundation upon which Michalko builds his extraordinary book, Thinkertoys, a handbook of creative thinking techniques. This is not just a book. It is a revolutionary guide that unlocks the doors of your imagination, teaching you how to think differently, how to innovate, and how to solve problems in ways you never thought possible. Welcome to Part 1, where we embark on a journey into the art and science of structured creativity. Chapter 1: The Creative Mindset, Breaking Free from Conventional Thought. Michalko begins with a profound truth. Most people do not lack creativity. They lack the ability to see beyond their conditioned way of thinking. From childhood, we are trained to follow logic, to seek the right answers, and to avoid mistakes. But great thinkers Einstein, Da Vinci, Edison did not achieve brilliance by following the norm. They questioned. They explored. They played with ideas. This chapter dismantles the myth that creativity is reserved for the naturally gifted. Instead, Michalko provides compelling evidence that creativity is a learned skill. He shares stories of remarkable innovators who, through unconventional methods, arrived at extraordinary discoveries. And so, the first step in unlocking your creative genius is to shift your mindset. You must unlearn the habits of rigid thinking. You must embrace curiosity. You must learn to see what others do not see. Chapter 2: The Thinkertoy Toolbox, Techniques to Unlock Your Brain's Full Potential. Imagine standing before a vast toolbox, each drawer filled with techniques that can expand your ability to think creatively. Michalko introduces us to an array of mental exercises, what he calls Thinkertoys. These are not just theoretical concepts. They are actionable strategies designed to rewire your thinking process. Here, he introduces foundational methods like the false face technique. Flip an assumption on its head. Instead of asking, "How can I solve this problem?" ask, "How can I create this problem?" And then reverse engineer a solution. The lotus blossom method. Start with a central idea and expand outward, forming a web of interconnected thoughts. Random stimulation. Use random words, images, or objects to spark new ideas. The key takeaway? Creativity thrives when you introduce structured chaos into your thought process. Chapter 3. The Art of Looking Differently, Seeing What Others Overlook. Creativity is not about inventing something out of nothing. It is about seeing the familiar in an unfamiliar way. Michalko urges us to develop a new way of looking at the world, to train our minds to recognize patterns, to connect unrelated dots, to break down assumptions. One of the most powerful exercises he introduces is Scamper. Substitute. What if you swapped elements of an idea? Combine. What if you merged two unrelated concepts? Adapt. How can you tweak something that already exists? Modify. What can be altered for improvement? Put to another use. Can this be applied in a new way? Eliminate. What can you remove to simplify? Reverse. What happens if you do the opposite? By applying Scamper, you begin to uncover new possibilities where others see dead ends. Chapter 4. The Power of Associations, Connecting the Unconnected. Let us take a moment to reflect on history's greatest breakthroughs. The idea for Velcro came from burrs sticking to a dog's fur. The concept of sonar was inspired by bats. The invention of the printing press was influenced by the mechanics of a wine press. This chapter explores the power of associative thinking, the ability to connect seemingly unrelated ideas to form something entirely new. Michalko introduces the bionic method, where you take two random elements and force a connection between them. For example, what happens when you combine a watch with a computer? You get the smartwatch, a revolutionary product that changed the way we live. Creativity, he argues, is often nothing more than forced connections between unrelated things. The more you practice, the more innovative you become. Chapter 5. Mind Mapping, the Visual Blueprint for Ideas. Now, let us imagine your brain as a vast landscape filled with ideas waiting to be explored. How do you navigate this terrain? How do you organize your thoughts? Enter mind mapping. This technique, popularized by Tony Buzan, allows you to visually structure your ideas. Unlike traditional note-taking, mind mapping mimics the way our brain actually thinks, through associations and branching patterns. Here's how you do it. 1. Start with a central idea in the middle of a blank page. 2. Branch out with related concepts, drawing lines between them. 3. Use colors, symbols, and images to enhance memory and creativity. The result? A dynamic, interconnected web of ideas that sparks further inspiration. Michalko demonstrates how businesses, artists, and problem solvers have used mind mapping to break through mental blocks, generate fresh ideas, and develop groundbreaking strategies. Conclusion: the awakening of your creative genius. At this point, my friends, we have only scratched the surface of what is possible when you unleash the power of creative thinking. Thinkertoys is not just a book. It is a call to arms for those who refuse to accept limits. By now, you should understand that creativity is not about luck. It is not about talent. It is about training your mind to think in ways it has never thought before. Through the techniques we have explored, Scamper, associative thinking, mind mapping, and others, you now possess the tools to break free from conventional thought patterns. You have the ability to see beyond what is, to imagine what could be, and to transform problems into opportunities. But this is just the beginning. In Part 2, we will dive even deeper into the Thinkertoys toolbox, exploring advanced methods that will take your creative problem-solving skills to an entirely new level. Are you ready to think differently? Are you ready to see the world in a new way? Then let us continue, for the adventure of the creative mind has only just begun. Part 2 Summary. Introduction: Stepping into the mind of a genius. Dear readers, we now step beyond the threshold of ordinary thought and into the realm of true innovation. In Part 1, we dismantled the myth that creativity is an innate gift and instead embrace the truth. It is a skill, a structured discipline that can be mastered by anyone willing to think differently. We explored the foundations of creative thinking, the mental tools that unlock our potential, and the techniques that allow us to see the world through fresh eyes. But now, we embark on an even greater journey, a deeper dive into the advanced Thinkertoys, the strategies used by the greatest inventors, visionaries, and problem solvers of our time. If Part 1 was about learning to see, then Part 2 is about learning to create, to forge ideas from nothing, to refine them, and to bring them to life. Are you ready to think like a genius? Let us begin. Chapter 6: The Role of Intuition, Trusting the Subconscious Genius. Creativity is often thought of as a purely logical process, structured brainstorming, systematic problem-solving, but Michalko reminds us that some of the most brilliant ideas in history came not from logic, but from intuition. Albert Einstein once said, "The intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant." Yet in modern society, we tend to worship logic and dismiss intuition as unreliable. But what if I told you that intuition is, in fact, one of the most powerful creative tools we possess? In this chapter, Michalko introduces us to techniques that harness the power of subconscious insight. Dream journaling, some of the greatest inventions, Einstein's theory of relativity, the periodic table, even the sewing machine, came from dreams. By keeping a dream journal, you tap into your brain's untapped problem-solving potential. Meditative thinking. By relaxing your mind, you open pathways to deep insights. Thomas Edison used to sit in a chair holding steel balls, allowing himself to drift into a meditative state. When he began to doze off, the balls would drop, waking him up and bringing back fresh insights from his subconscious. The 30-circle test, a rapid thinking exercise that forces your brain to break free from habitual thought patterns and embrace spontaneity. Michalko's message is clear. The rational mind organizes information, but the intuitive mind creates breakthroughs. The secret to innovation is learning to balance both. Chapter 7: Creative Disruption, Breaking the Patterns of Thought. Let us imagine, for a moment, a world where nothing is assumed, where every idea is questioned, every rule is challenged, every standard is reimagined. This is the world of creative disruption, the art of breaking patterns to create new possibilities. Michalko introduces a concept called conceptual blending, where unrelated ideas are forced together to create something new. Consider these famous disruptions. Uber. What happens when you merge personal car ownership with taxi services? $1 billion revolution in transportation. Netflix. What happens when you combine DVD rentals with online streaming? The death of video stores and the birth of a digital empire. The Wright brothers. What happens when you mix bicycles with gliders? Human flight. To develop disruptive thinking, Michalko encourages the absurd idea game. What if airplanes had no pilots? Today, we have autopilot and drones. What if phones had no buttons? Touch screens became the norm. Provocative thinking. Instead of asking, "How do I solve this problem?" ask, "What would happen if I deliberately made it worse?" Strange as it seems, this reverse approach often leads to surprising breakthroughs. Oppositional thinking. Instead of following the industry's standard, do the exact opposite. When Southwest Airlines was founded, competitors focused on luxury. Southwest removed frills and focused on low-cost efficiency and became wildly successful. The lesson? Innovation comes not from improving the old, but from daring to create something entirely new. Chapter 8: The Power of Constraints, Turning Limitations into Innovation. Most people see limitations as obstacles. A lack of time, a lack of money, a lack of resources. But what if I told you that limitations are the birthplace of creativity? Michalko highlights that many of history's greatest innovations were born from necessity. The Apollo 13 mission, when an oxygen tank exploded, NASA engineers had to create a CO2 filter using only materials on board, saving the crew's lives through pure ingenuity. Dr. Seuss' Green Eggs and Ham. The beloved book was written as a challenge to use only 50 words, a constraint that forced creativity and led to one of the most successful children's books of all time. The birth of Twitter. Twitter started as a project with a 140-character limit, forcing users to communicate succinctly, ironically, making it one of the most viral platforms ever created. Michalko introduces forced constraints exercises. The 10-word challenge. Can you describe your business idea in exactly 10 words? Minimalist innovation. What if you had half your budget? What would you do differently? Time-locked brainstorming. What if you had only 60 seconds to come up with a solution? The takeaway is clear. Creativity thrives under pressure. Constraints force you to innovate. Chapter 9. The power of play, making creativity fun again. Let me ask you, when was the last time you played? Not worked, not problem-solved, but truly played? Michalko argues that play is the key to unlocking unlimited creativity.
Why?
Because play removes fear. It removes the pressure of being right. It allows ideas to flow without judgment. Look at children. They build castles from blankets, create entire worlds from their imagination. Somewhere along the way, we adults lost this ability. We became rigid, bound by rules, afraid of looking foolish. But the greatest minds never stopped playing. Da Vinci filled notebooks with absurd sketches and imaginary inventions. Nikola Tesla visualized entire machines in his mind before even building them. Walt Disney created Disneyland by imagining a world through a child's eyes. Michalko's advice? Bring back the element of play into your creative process. Doodle your ideas, sketch out problems instead of writing them. Role-playing, pretend to be someone else solving the problem. Game-storming, turn brainstorming into a game with absurd challenges and silly rewards. The key? Creativity should be fun. If you're not enjoying the process, you're doing it wrong. Conclusion: thinking like a visionary. My friends, at this point in our journey, we have explored techniques that will forever transform the way you think. You now understand that intuition fuels insight, disruption fuels breakthroughs, constraints fuel innovation, and play fuels unlimited creativity. But this is not the end. It is only the beginning. In the final part of Thinkertoys, Michalko will reveal how to apply these techniques to real-world problems, how to sustain creativity over time, and how to develop a mindset that produces limitless ideas on demand. Are you ready to master the art of thinking differently? Then join me in part 3, where we take these Thinkertoys and turn them into powerful tools for success. Part 3 Summary. The grand finale, from ideas to mastery. Dear readers, we have ventured deep into the mind of creativity. In Part 1, we laid the groundwork, understanding that creativity is not a talent, but a skill that can be trained. In Part 2, we explored powerful techniques to generate, disrupt, and refine ideas like the greatest thinkers of our time. But now we arrive at the final stage. It is one thing to have brilliant ideas. It is another to bring them to life. In Part 3, Michalko challenges us with one simple question. How do you turn creativity into a way of life? How do you ensure that ideas don't just flicker and fade but grow into something extraordinary? Today, we take the leap from dreamer to doer, from creative thinker to creative master. Let's begin. Chapter 10. The Thinker's Mindset, Developing the Habits of Creativity. If you look at history's most innovative minds, you'll find one undeniable truth. Creativity is not a one-time act. It is a daily practice. Edison, Da Vinci, Picasso, Jobs, these visionaries did not wait for inspiration to strike. They engineered their own inspiration through habit and mindset. Michalko outlines the 6 core habits that separate creative masters from the average thinker. 1. Curiosity over judgment. The best thinkers ask why and why not before deciding something is impossible. 2. Daily idea generation. Write down 10 new ideas every single day. Most will be bad, but the habit will sharpen your mind like a sword. 3. Divergent thinking. Train yourself to see multiple solutions instead of just one. There is always another way. 4. Provocative thinking. Ask yourself ridiculous, absurd questions. What if gravity worked in reverse? What if money didn't exist? The strangest questions lead to the most innovative breakthroughs. 5. Break the routine. Drive a different route. Eat something new. Read books outside your industry. Creativity thrives in unfamiliar territory. 6. Master the art of observation. The world is full of unnoticed patterns, untapped ideas. The greatest thinkers are simply those who see what others miss. If you adopt these habits, you will not have to search for creativity. It will become a part of you. Chapter 11. Execution. Turning ideas into reality. Let me ask you, how many brilliant ideas have been lost because they were never acted upon? The truth is, creativity is only valuable when put into action. An idea in your mind is worth nothing. An idea that is built, tested, and shared can change the world. Michalko warns us about the creativity trap, the illusion that thinking is enough. It is not. To make ideas real, we must move from imagination to execution. The 4-step execution formula. 1. Prototype quickly. Do not wait for perfection. Start rough. Test early. Refine later. The Wright brothers' first airplane was held together with glue and wire. Today, we fly across the world in comfort. 2. Set deadlines. Creativity needs urgency. Give yourself 72 hours to take the first action on any new idea. If you wait longer, you may never start. 3. Seek feedback. Show your idea to people, even when it's not perfect. The fear of judgment kills more creativity than failure ever could. 4. Adapt and improve. The first version of an idea is rarely the best. Don't be afraid to change, tweak, and evolve your vision as you learn. Michalko reminds us, innovation is not about getting it right the first time. It's about getting it right eventually. Chapter 12. Sustaining creativity. How to keep the spark alive. Perhaps the greatest challenge of all is not starting to be creative, but staying creative over the long run. Many people have bursts of innovation, but only a few remain endlessly inventive. What is their secret? The long-term creativity blueprint. 1. Never stop learning. Read widely. Travel. Surround yourself with new perspectives. Creativity thrives on new input. 2. Collaborate with unlikely minds. The greatest breakthroughs often come from cross-pollination. A scientist learns from an artist. A business leader learns from a poet. 3. Take breaks and disconnect. Overworking destroys creativity. Einstein took long walks. Bill Gates had think weeks. Your brain needs time to process new ideas. 4. Embrace failure as a teacher. Thomas Edison failed 10,000 times before inventing the light bulb. Each failure was not a mistake, it was a lesson. 5. Stay playful and experimental. The moment creativity feels like work, it dies. Keep it fun, spontaneous, and full of discovery. Michalko's message is simple. Creativity is not a phase. It is a lifelong pursuit. The grand conclusion, becoming a thinker-toy master. And so, my friends, we arrive at the final chapter. We began this journey by shattering the myth that creativity is a gift. We learned that it is a skill, a muscle that can be trained, refined, and strengthened. We discovered techniques from intuitive thinking to disruptive innovation, from structured brainstorming to playful creativity. We learned to generate new ideas at will, and most importantly, to turn those ideas into reality. But now, the question is no longer, how do you become more creative? The question is, what will you do with this knowledge? Because, my friends, creativity is power. It is the power to see the unseen, to build the unbuilt, to change the unchangeable. If you apply these thinker toys, you will not only think differently, you will live differently. The world does not belong to those who follow the rules. It belongs to those who rewrite them. Go forth, create, innovate, and never stop thinking. The future is yours to invent. Thanks for listening to Book Buzz reviews and summaries. Please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon to get new video updates.